Butnu Production.
Hi, my name's Butnu. I moved to China a year ago, and I thought you might want to know what living in China is like. I've cut out all the boring bits, like work. This is the diary of my adventures. Since the last episode, I went to our school's Chinese New Year party. I was put in charge of the Chinese calligraphy stall. I can barely write any Chinese, and I'm also left-handed, so everyone found me very entertaining. I even had a go myself. This says Tian, which means sky or day. Then I sneaked off to hang out with the kids. The three dogs had gotten to know each other better, and Blake had become a woman. So we had to get her fixed. Now, a national holiday was upon us, and Rachel surprised me with some tickets to go visit her home, Virginia, USA. As we waited in Beijing to get our flight to America, we heard vague rumours of a virus that was going around, but we were told not to worry. When we finally got to America, I met Rachel's family, and we went to we went to learn about the Civil War. Then, after going to Atlantic City for some casino action, we went to Washington, D.C. to see the sights. This is the Lincoln Memorial. No, wait. I think this is the Lincoln Memorial. Oh, and we saw the Washington Monument. This is the view from the top. Oh, I know that's the White House. Hang on, this is the Lincoln Memorial, I think. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's Lincoln there. After sightseeing, we found an Irish bar and stopped for a well-deserved Guinness. By the time we got back to Virginia, it was clear the virus we'd heard about actually was something to worry about. Flights were cancelled, including ours. Meanwhile, back in China, the schools had been put on hold and the country was on lockdown. We were asked to do what we could to teach the children remotely.
Without hands, to do without head, to listen and not speak.
This is me reading an excerpt from the 100 Languages of Children.
And to marvel only at Easter and
The days passed slowly as we ran out of money.
Tell the child to discover the world already there, and of the 100, they steal 99.
After a few weeks, I convinced Rachel to go camping for a few nights as a kind of cheap holiday. We went to the famous Appalachian Trail and set up camp. It was pretty cold and there was ice on the ground. As I set up the tent we borrowed, I realised it was more of a summer tent, complete with a mesh window. The fire became our lifeline. Over the 3 days, we hiked up to a rocky outcrop called MacAfee's Knob, and I got this great photo. Pretty sure I enjoyed the hike more than Rachel. It was freezing, but I loved it. But fearing our imminent doom, we packed up and went home. At the end of February, I had my birthday, a couple of days before we were due to fly back to China. Rachel and her sister took me to Roanoke to do an escape room, which we failed. It was really hard though. We left America as the first coronavirus cases were appearing there. On our way back to Wenzhou, we stopped off for a few hours in South Korea, just as the outbreak was hitting Seoul. Then we had a 17-hour stopover in Beijing. I didn't want to miss the chance to see Beijing, so I dragged Rachel to the centre to see the sights. Eerily, the bustling capital had turned into a ghost town. Everything was deserted. The gravity of the outbreak was really starting to sink in. China had gone into lockdown during their Chinese New Year's celebrations, so everywhere there were signs and banners celebrating 2020 and Happy New Year. It was so strange to see. Here's the famous Tiananmen Square. absolutely empty. When we landed at Wenzhou Airport, the whole flight was greeted by people in hazmats, and we were kept in the airport. We were the only foreigners on the flight too, so the authorities weren't sure how to communicate or speak to us. It was really like a scene from a movie. Gradually we were able to find out that it was a precaution because several people on the flight were returning from Italy who were also having a massive outbreak. And one guy on the plane had even had a slight fever. They did have some high-tech thermal imaging cameras. That was kind of cool to see. Eventually we were all cleared and went back to our home. But when we arrived at our complex, they wouldn't let us in either. After another hour of begging and calling anyone we knew, the guards let us in, but we were placed under 14 days quarantine in our apartment. Remember in the last episode I introduced this guy, Chinese Baba? We met him back in December when he rode up to us on a bicycle and gave us random fruit. He liked to join us for a beer whenever we walked past and saw us out, so we kind of became friends. It was Baba who helped the dogs go to the kennel. A week after we left, our dog sitter had fled the country for fear of the virus and being under lockdown, so for a few days they'd been all alone. Baba came in and saved them. During our quarantine, he'd also come and hang out with us every day. He'd bring us supplies. For some reason that was absolutely fine. He could come and go as he pleased. We tried to make the most of it and made the spare room a karaoke room.
Oh, it sounds good to me. I said, cowboys, take me away. This girl is high.
Yeah, brilliant. Woo! It wasn't long before our 14 days passed. We got the dogs back and nervously started to go back outside. The mall was still pretty empty. We went to a bar to play pool and nobody else was there. The boredom and loneliness was really starting to get to us. We got some hair clippers and gave the dogs haircuts because the weather was getting hotter. Blake and Jessie loved their new look, but Balbe managed to get away without a haircut. Cheeky scamp. It wasn't long before the karaoke room became an art room. Here's a rainbow heart, and this is some fire. I painted that. I also built a Lego tower bridge, and this marble thingy. This thingy was so infuriating, so I smashed it up and threw it away. That felt good. Don't buy one of those, they're awful. Baba actually took a liking to our growing Nerf gun collection. Not sure he'd actually seen them before. At first he just liked to hold them, then one day he went full Rambo on us. It even happened when our friend Spencer came to visit. For a few weeks we were living in a spongy war zone. By now it was Easter time, so I asked Rachel to dress up so we could go out for dinner. Little did she know that I was going to propose. The second I got down on one knee, she started to cry. Had I upset her? Would she say no? Luckily, she said yes. Turns out they were happy tears. Phew. As we went to hail a tuk-tuk to go home, we saw a lucky red tuk-tuk. Went home in style. That's the only red tuk-tuk we've ever seen before or since. It must have been fate. That's it for this week. Quite a lot happened in this one, didn't it? Join us next time as we make the most of our free time and start to see the countryside and travel a bit further around the Wenzhou area. Some really nice waterfalls coming up. Anyway, have fun, Bye. 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 Butnu Production.